So let's get started. And today's session, once again, I welcome you. This is going to be on brand and identity, right? Now, so far, your startup actually exists on paper, as you know, right? You know the problem you're solving, you understand your customer, you've built a lean canvas. But imagine walking into a startup competition, let's say tomorrow, and someone asks you, what's your startup called? Okay. You actually pause for a moment and like, they ask again, like, do you have a logo? Maybe another pause. What's your tagline? Right. And there's complete silence. No matter how good your idea is, people remember what they can identify. So that's why today is an exciting milestone. And today we are, giving your startup its own identity. So think of it as right some kind of, you can say, brand that you have to actually attach, right? uh, think about the brands that you know. For instance, Google, Nike, Cred, Zepto, could be anything. Now before you think about their products, you probably remember their name, logo, colors, or even the feeling they create. So that's what branding does. It makes your startup recognizable. So branding isn't about making something look beautiful. Yes, it's about making it memorable. It actually has to evoke some kind of emotions. So in this particular block, you will create five things every startup needs. That's first one is a name that people can actually remember, a logo that people can recognize, a tagline that explains your promise, a color palette that reflects your personality, and finally, a brand card that brings everything together into one professional identity. Okay, so you will also notice that we are using AI throughout this process. But here's something very important. Creativity doesn't disappear because AI exists. In fact, AI works best when you already have a clear idea. Now think about AI as a creative partner that generates possibilities, right? So you will evaluate those ideas, improve them, reject some, and combine others and make the final choice. So that's exactly how professional designers and founders work today. Now, one thing important before we begin, you should not aim for perfectionism. Always been, telling. Very few successful startups kept their original logo forever. Many changed their colors, many refined their taglines, some even, changed their names. So your goal today is not to build a perfect brand. It's in fact to build, version one, which is going to be an identity that's clear, memorable, and ready for the next stage of your startup journey. So let's get started. Yeah. So just take a look at, where our journey where we are in actually the journey, right? So I think we are in the middle, that is B4. Uh, Imagine you're building your dream house and you don't begin by choosing the paint color. You don't choose by buying furniture. You certainly don't order a nameplate before the house exists. So everything happens in the right order. So building a startup works exactly the same way. Until now, we have actually focused on answering one simple question: should this startup exist? Like, you identified a real problem, you explored different ideas, you validated your assumptions, and finally, you created lean canvas, one page, blueprint of how your startup will create, deliver, and capture value. And in fact, there's this whole uh, video that you will actually find, which is you know completely on AI tools, right? And those AI tools have successfully generated the lean canvas. Okay, perfect. So now it's time to build something people can actually recognize. So think of introducing a startup as a friend instead of saying, I have an idea for a platform that helps students find internships, let's say, something like that. Wouldn't be more powerful to say, I would like to introduce you to SkillBridge, right? Give a name, and immediately the conversation feels different because your startup is no longer just an idea, it has an identity. That's exactly what block 4 is about. So by the end of today's session, you will be able to have a memorable startup name, a logo that reflects your idea, a tagline that actually communicates your promise, a color palette that gives your brand a consistent personality, and finally a brand card that combines all these elements into one simple visual identity. So you should notice something which is interesting here. None of these decisions are random, actually. Every color you choose sends actually a message. Every word in your tagline shapes expectations. Um, Even your, startups, you can say, name influences whether people remember it, recommend it, or forget it. Professional companies spend weeks, sometimes months, making these decisions. Today, we will make how AI can in fact help us make them much faster while ensuring the final creative decision remains with us. So that's the whole idea. Okay, once your brand identity is complete, you'll be able to ready for the next stage of the journey, because in block 5, in fact, you will stop designing your startup. In fact, that's the time when you'll actually build it. So let's begin giving your startup something every successful company has, that's a memorable identity. Okay, yeah. So before we start creating names, logos, taglines, I want to ask you a very simple question. Like, imagine you're searching online for a study app and two new apps appear and both solve the same problem, both have similar features. One has a confusing name, an outdated logo, random colors, and no clear message. And the other has a clear name, professional logo, and a single tagline that instantly tells you what it does. Which one would you click first? So most people choose the second one, of course, right? Not because they know it's better, but because it looks more trustworthy, right? So that's exactly why branding matters even before someone becomes your customer. So we are now in the prototype phase. If you remember the design thinking process introduced by the design school, right, Stanford Design School, the 5 stages are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay. Now we have spent our time understanding problem, exploring ideas, and designing a business model. Okay. So at this particular stage, when we enter the prototype one, right. And in fact, a prototype is it's not always a working app. It's actually anything people can react to. It could be a sketch, wireframe, or landing page, or even a brand identity, right? So when someone sees your startup's name and logo for the first time, they already form opinions, right? Um that itself becomes something you can test with customers. Researchers in psychology, in fact, have long studied what is called the primary effect. So it simply means that people remember and are strongly influenced by the first impression. And that's why the saying goes, first impression is the best impression. So once that impression is formed, changing it becomes, much harder. Your startup experiences the same thing. Before anyone downloads your app, before anyone visits your website, before anyone buys your product, they see your name, your logo, your colors, and within a few seconds, they begin deciding whether your startup feels professional, trustworthy, fun, premium, or confusing. Your brand starts communicating long before you say a single word. Right. Now, think about these terms: Dunzo, Paytm, Rapido, Boat. Okay. Notice something common. These are all very short. Okay. Easy to pronounce, easy to remember, and most importantly, they're easy to recommend. Suppose your friend says download Rapido. Okay. You can probably spell it correctly the first time, right? And that's called the radio test. If someone hears your startup's name only once, can they remember it and spell it correctly later? If the answer is yes, you're probably chosen a strong name. If your startup is called something like Innovation Education Technology Solutions India, I'm sorry, right? People will probably, forget it. And because they finish reading it, nothing will be there on their mind. So simple names travel faster than complicated ones. Okay. Then comes a tagline. So a good tagline doesn't describe your company. It actually describes the benefit your customer receives. Okay. Take the example of Swiggy delivering happiness. They don't say we transport food using motorbike cycles, or instead they focus on feeling. Similarly, you take a razor pay, power your payments. Very short, clear, action oriented. In fact, they do the same thing, right? The best taglines answer one simple question: why should I care? Okay. So by the end of today's session, you will actually create one for your own startup. Then color speaks thousand, you can say, worth, right? So imagine walking into a hospital where everything is painted bright red. It would probably feel uncomfortable. Okay. Now imagine a luxury. I don't know if you have the feeling, but I have feeling. Right, long back when we bought a flat, and right, uh, the entire living room was painted red, and that was my choice, red and black. Trust me, it was really, really bad. It actually increased the blood pressure. Okay, somehow we slept comfortably, and then I mean, right, we next morning we had to actually got that changed. Okay, it became very subtle, light, pale yellow, green sort of, and so that and that day I realized that colors really play a very important role, even your psychology, your health, everything else. Okay, so imagine a luxury uh, jewelry store painted in fluorescent orange. That wouldn't feel right either. Okay. So colors influence how people feel. This idea is known as color psychology. While color meanings can vary across cultures, certain patterns appear consistently. Blue often communicates trust. Green suggests growth and freshness. Orange feels like energetic. Purple often feels premium or innovative, right? So now you can recall some of the premium brands. That's why brands choose colors carefully instead of randomly. Notice companies like PhonePe, Zomato, and Cred. Okay, the colors have become part of their identity. In many cases, you recognize the color because you even read the name. Okay, so here is something that I want you to remember throughout this block. People don't experience your startup in the order you build it. They don't first see your lean canvas also. In fact, they don't first read your business model. Okay, they first experience your brand. Your brand opens the door, your product fulfills the promise. Okay, so that's what we are going to make sure that first impression is one your customers will remember. So if I asked you to name a new pet today, you could probably think of a name in a minute, right? But naming a startup is very, very different, because unlike a pet, your startup's name has a job to do. Okay, it has to attract attention. It has to be made memorable. It has to be easy to pronounce. And hopefully, it should still make sense 10 years from now. So, choosing a startup name is one of the first branding decisions every founder makes. And surprisingly, it's also one of the hardest. So, you may ask this question, right? Why does the name matter at all? So, think about some of the famous Indian startups. You've Zepto, Rapido, Grow, Swiggy, right? None of these names explain the entire business, yet they're easy to remember. In fact, Ola, let me add that as well. Easy to pronounce, easy to recommend. That's exactly what a startup name should do. Your name is not meant to describe everything, it's meant to make uh, people curious. enough to remember you. So question is, what makes a great startup, uh, name, a great startup name, right? So let's look at the 4 qualities mentioned on the slide. First, keep it short. Why? Because short names are easier to type, easier to remember, and easier to fit on one app screen. Okay, imagine opening your phone. Would you rather open tap on Rapido or National Student Career, some development platform, right? So simple almost always wins. Second, make it memorable. The slide introduces something called the radio test. It's a very simple idea. Imagine someone says your startup's name over the phone or on the radio. Can the listener spell it correctly without asking again? For example, if someone says Paytm, most people can immediately type it. But if your startup is called something, with unusual spellings or silent letters, people may struggle to find you online. If customers can't remember your name, they can't recommend your brand. The third one is make it India friendly. I mean, if you're focusing on India, make it India friendly. Or perhaps if you're in any other country, try to, and if that's your main market, it has to be based on their culture and right, that friendly. Right. So India is linguistically diverse, if you know. Your customers may speak Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi, or many other Indian languages. Choose a name that's comfortable to pronounce across different regions. Now, a simple pronunciation makes conversations much easier. Imagine a teacher recommending your startup in a classroom. Would they feel confident saying the name? So, that's a useful test. And finally, make it distinct. Okay, one common mistake new founders make it is adding words like smart, easy, quick, best, super. Now, these words appear in thousands of existing brands. Instead of sounding unique, they make your startup sound similar to everyone else. So, your goal isn't to sound familiar, your goal is to become memorable. And that's why names like Google, Spotify, Zomato stand out. And they build their own identity rather than borrowing someone else's. Okay. Now, how will we generate the name? That's the question. So we will use something called namelix.com, right? Which is an AI powered startup name generator. Now, instead of randomly generating names, you will begin with 3 keywords that describe your startup. For example, if your startup helps students find internships, your keywords might be like student, project, career. So Namelix will generate dozens of possible names. Don't choose the first one you like. Okay, generate many options. Professional branding is all about exploring possibilities before making decisions. Then comes the filtering. So generating names is easy. Choosing the right one is the real skill. So the slide recommends eliminating names that sound like existing brands or are difficult to spell or don't have a suitable domain name available. That's an excellent habit. Imagine printing business cards, creating social media accounts, and later discovering that another company already owns the name. So a few minutes of checking today can save a lot of trouble later. Then comes why use Claude. Once you have shortlisted your top 2 names, don't make the decision alone. Ask Claude to critique them. Notice the prompt. It's not asking, which name do you like? Instead, it evaluates each option using clear criteria based on memorability, based on pronunciation, based on brand distinctiveness, then domain availability, all that. So that's how professionals make branding decisions. Okay, they use criteria instead of professional preference. Claude becomes your branding consultant and not your decision maker. Okay, so finally, choose one. Is it going to be permanent? Not necessarily, but many successful companies change their names before becoming famous. So, for example, Google was originally called Backrub. Nike was initially known as Blue Ribbon Sports before adopting the iconic name we know today. Okay. The important thing is not choosing the perfect name, it's choosing a good name so you can keep building. So, you should remember this: a great startup does not become successful because of its name. A great name simply helps people remember a great startup. Okay, so open Namelix. In fact, the word Namelix itself, speaks a lot. Generate your ideas, evaluate them carefully, and uh, let us give your startup a name that world can actually remember. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now I'll open Namelix, right, and you can actually see that. Okay, yourself. Perfect. So here I've opened most of the AI tools. So what I'll do is let me just, yeah. So let me just type Namelix. Correct. So this is, and the first namelix.com. Just click here, and yes, here it is. So let's say we are doing something in the education space. So students, teacher, learning, platform, doubts, uh, aggregator. No, I think just, or courses, something like that. Let's click generate. Okay, and then it gives you, the name style, right? How you want it. So let's select first whether it is auto, like all styles, or you want something like Google or Rolex, or Dollar Shave Club, or like FedEx, Microsoft, something like that. Because here, if you see, compound words are there, like Federal Express, something like that. Okay, Microsoft, so software. Non-English words like, Toyota, Audi. Real words like Apple, Amazon. I'll go with brandable names. Let's see. And let's click the next one. Randomness. Less random, most direct names. Balanced. Let's say highly random. And yeah. So let us describe the business. So a platform that gives identity to teachers, to educators, and creates their courses, uploads them on the platform, then provides access to learners, uh, helps in growth and monetization. Works like an aggregator of several courses, works like aggregator of teachers, something like that. Okay, let's generate it. Wonderful. So if you look at Cogni class, so this is like a combination. Cog means knowledge and then class. Then you have socialite. Sounds more like, socialization. So we'll course with ed libra. Okay, wonderful. A lot of words are there. And eduploy, Otavio. Very simple to pronounce, I guess, Otavio. But let's see. And otavio.com is also available. Then eduhyphra. Profile. Yeah, this is kind of good. Then LearnerX, Say Notebooks, okay, Coursify. So you can select, right? Quicode, Vocand, Paper. Okay, I'm just trying to have a very simple name. Instruer, no, not this. Radical, not because DT is there. So, Procuri, okay. Learnance, Practica, yeah, Practica. This sounds quite good, Practica. Then you have Educurate. So let's take Educurate, Practica, and let's take Otavio. Okay. Yes. Right. So what we will now do is very simple. We'll go to Chat GPT and we'll say, no, we'll not go to Chat GPT. We'll go to Claude and we'll say, I am about to choose a startup name for my startup that is a kind of aggregator platform and brand identity for educators. They can sell their courses, get students, make money, etc. Okay. Here are the 3 names I found to be good. Okay. Then, so one is we will choose it Practica, then Otavio and Broccoli. Okay. Choose based on how easily can be memorized, remembered, okay, then short, etc. So it says Practica is already a well-known brand, an AI language tutor app with 10 million plus downloads. Right. And that leaves Otavio. So this is anyway gone. Otavio versus Procure. And okay, it was Procuri. Sorry. So it was pro curry. So pro curry is much stronger than plain. It's a coined word, playful twist on procure. So it's usually trademarkable and ownable. So this is also one very important thing because you may need to, trademark, right? So trademark means sometimes you might have seen a certain brand names which has got a small, TM written on the right hand side top, right, as a power. So basically, it actually means that uh, they have filed for its name to be registered and nobody else can actually claim. That's the whole idea. And once they become successful, it becomes registered. Okay, so it becomes your unique name. Otavio is fully invented, no semantic hook education yet. 100% meaning is branding, marketing. Wonderful. So 4 syllables, Otavio. Okay. More prone to first try misspelling. Octavio. Otavio. Yes. So this is also there. I think Procuri is something that it's actually going ahead. So we'll choose this. Perfect. Okay. So I think you have some understanding of these names now, right? And I think you have shortlisted that one name. So let's move to the next. Okay. Then comes design a brand people will remember. Okay. This is what I will say it. So if someone saw your logo for just 2 seconds, and here is a question, what would they remember? So many people think a logo is simply a beautiful picture, but actually it's not. It's a visual shortcut to your brand. When you see the bitten apple, okay, you immediately think of Apple, right? Apple brand. When you see the swoosh, you think of Nike. The logo reminds you uh, of the brand and it doesn't explain the word. That's an important difference. So your logo doesn't need to tell your entire story. It simply needs to be memorable enough that people recognize it over time. Okay. So don't design for yourself. This is what I will say. And this is what one a common mistake that founders make by asking a question like, do I like this logo? In fact, don't ask that. Instead, you should ask, will my customer like this logo? Because you're not designing for yourself, you're designing for your customers. Okay. People are going to use your product. Okay. And simplicity will always win. You take all the companies logo, Apple, Nike, Airbnb, Spotify, none of them are complicated. So they don't contain 10 colors, don't have detailed illustrations. They're simple enough to be recognized on a mobile phone, a website, or even a tiny browser tab. Okay, that's why the prompt on this slide specifically asks Canva AI to create a minimalistic, clean, and modern logo. Simple logos are easier to recognize, easier to remember, and easier to use across different platforms. Let's build it. So we will use Canva AI, which is one of the easiest design tools available today. Okay. Notice that the prompt doesn't say create a logo. Instead, it tells Canva the startup name, what the startup does, the design style, the primary color, and even the feeling the logo should communicate. And that's another example of good prompt engineering. So the more context you provide, the better the AI understands your vision. When you receive the first result, you should not stop. You should generate several versions. Like professional designers rarely accept the very first design. They compare, refine, improve. And I want to give you a small design tip. The slide also suggests exploring Canva's existing templates because it's an excellent choice. AI generation is powerful, but sometimes a professionally designed template gives you ideas you may never have considered. Okay, so think of AI as an inspiration, AI templates as inspiration. Okay, now we'll talk about the tagline. Now, a logo helps people recognize the startup, but a tagline helps them understand it. Think of it as your startup's promise in just a few words. Now, the slide gives a very useful formula. You should use verb plus customer outcome, not output, outcome. Notice the focus is not on your product, it's on the customer's benefit. Now, let's compare two examples. AI powered career platform. That's a description. Okay, very simple. Now compare it with get hired before you graduate. Get hired before you graduate. So get hired, it actually starts with the verb get hired. But if you look at the whole phrase, you will see that there is an outcome also. Okay, that actually creates excitement. It tells the customer exactly what success looks like. So people remember outcomes much more easily than features. Study great taglines. This is what I'll say. Take razor pay, like power your payments. The three words, take mama, the goodness inside. It doesn't describe shampoo, skincare. Okay, instead it communicates trust and care. So the best taglines don't explain everything. They leave just enough curiosity for customers to want to know more. Okay. Now comes the Gemini part. Okay, for this activity, we will use Gemini instead of asking for one tagline. Okay, ask several. That's very simple. Then compare them, mix ideas, rewrite them. Sometimes the best tagline is not generated in one attempt. It is created by combining the best parts of several suggestions. Because you should remember that you are the creative director. AI is simply your brainstorming partner. Your goal here is that by the end of this activity, you should have a logo that reflects your startup's personality, a tagline that's very short, clear, and benefit focused, and a brand that communicates right. In fact, helps people understand within a few seconds, because that's exactly what great branding does. Okay. In fact, it makes people remember you faster. So now let's do activity 2, where we have to design actually logo and tagline. Now this is basically a 15 minutes exercise that you can do. You can spend 8 minutes for the logo design in Canva and maybe 7 minutes tagline. In fact, you can reduce the time also, right? So the step is very simple. What you see on the screen, that is, you have to go to canva.com, click create design, and then we'll do the logo. Step number 2 will be, we'll type your startup name in the search bar. So this is something which is really important. If you do not know your startup name, the best I would suggest is uh, create your own startup name or take some suggestions from AI, right? Then the third step is click AI image generator, and then you have to describe your brand. And then there is this amazing prompt to actually design the logo, right? This is what we will actually use. Okay. And yeah, very simple. And then we will actually download it. So this is the first part, and let's do it. So what I'll do is I'll first go to Canva. Okay, you can sign in up. This is how it is. You can go to canva.com, just do a normal sign up. On the extreme left side on the top, you see create. Just click that. And once you create this, right, you will get this kind of pop up. And the best way is you can just just type logo and yes. So the first box that you actually see, you just click that and it may open another page, and this is how it is. And here you can actually see describe your ideal design. Now, if I have to describe the design, the best one is I should know first of all the startup name. So what I'll do is I will just come here, right? I have already generated. Okay. This is my chat GPT. Okay. What I've done is I've created this entire, prompt. I've pasted the same prompt here. Okay. And then it has generated some of, so what it has done is in place of these square brackets, it has actually used some dummy names. For example, it has already created for AI-Praxis. Likewise, some edtech venture, which is like EduForge, which is essentially a personalized learning platform. And then it has suggested a royal blue color. Okay. Likewise, you have health tech, you have fintech, you have agri-tech, and it has suggested a lot. Okay. So what I've done is I have chosen this third one, which is health tech, that is medicine. Right. So this particular thing is my common, right, which I'm going to paste. Okay. Right. So once I just copy this, let me just copy it. And the same you can actually do using, Gemini. You see in Gemini also I've done the same thing. But when I pasted the same prompt, Gemini actually gave only one startup, Etheria, which is a decentralized AI infrastructure, kind of heavy for many people. So let's not use this. Right. So therefore I mentioned here, I will use Medisync. And then it explained to me the beauty of it. Okay. So what I'll do is we'll just go to this page and we'll just copy this one and we'll just paste it here. Let's see what happens. Okay. I can show you. So what it is, minimalist logo for Medisync. And then what Medisync is, it's a digital healthcare and patient management startup. Then clean lines, no text, modern, suitable for India, tech startup. The color emerald green. So just in bullets, you have to describe. This is the best way to actually, let's see what it actually does. We'll not click search, we'll click generate. Yeah, so it's taking some time, it's finalizing. So let's wait for a few seconds. And you can generate the same logo with uh, Gemini. Right. Yes. So here it is saying the designs are ready. Okay. So let's read it. Minimalist logo for Medisync. Digital, what is that? It's a digital healthcare plus patient management startup. Clean lines, no text, modern, suitable for India, emerald green. So look at this. This is the first one. Okay. Let me just click it. Yes. Okay. Or if you click this, right? Or you can click this, or you can click this, whatever is best. Okay. So you can use any of this. So for simplicity, maybe we can use this as well. Okay. So this becomes our final logo. So it's very simple to actually design, right? And if you just ask ChatGPT that just copy this, come down, and let me just say create a logo. Yes. One additional phrase that I've used is create a logo. And let me just click and let's see what it does. And it's in fact creating the whole image. So you can wait here and just see. Okay, so meanwhile, what we can also do is we can just copy this here and we can go to Gemini and we can paste it here. And let's see what it actually does. Yeah, so here also it's actually creating your image. So this will be in png.png format. You can download it very easily. Yes. Yeah, very good. So you can use either of them. This looks quite symmetrical. There is a plus sign, there's heart, then you have pulses. So it's up to you how you want to use. Maybe I can say that this is better. Okay, it's correct. And we can actually download it. So here you can actually go and you can download this image, right? Click on download and it will be downloaded as beautiful as possible. Okay. And look at this, how beautiful this is. Okay. But this looks little confusing to me. I think I may go with the simplest one is this one. This is created by ChatGPT and this is by Gemini. Wonderful. Now, once we are done, let's go back to our presentation. We had something called a write your tagline using Gemini, and the tagline was very simple: verb plus customer, right? Outcome under 6 words, emotional active. So why not we actually copy this, right? And we can use it. But at the bottom, there's also a prompt which you can put it in Gemini and say, write 5 taglines for this startup, right? And yeah, so this I have already generated. I'll just show you. Yes, this was the prompt that I had given. Write 5 taglines for the startup name is Medisync. That does, and I did not describe because the description was already there earlier, so it has actually taken. Okay. Yes. And these are some of the taglines. The first one for patients and families, if that's your value, you want to provide care and convenience. So you can say in Hindi, maybe apno ki health, bilkul sorted, or healthcare made effortless for families. Likewise, if you have for doctors and clinics, here the value is efficiency and trust. Then smart practice, happier patients. For working professionals or caregivers, the value is speed and peace of mind, fast appointments, zero waiting. You can use this. Okay. Let me do one more thing. Okay. Let me just copy this and paste it here and say, create the tagline using this formula and put a colon mark and just paste it. Yeah. So, yes. So if you look at here, it is verb plus customer outcome under 6 words. So reclaim your vitality today. Then I think this is good. I mean, you go to a hospital and somebody says that, yes, you will definitely get healed. This will be great. For empowerment, it is something like, connect for a healthier future. Then breathe freely, live fully now. Find peace in your wellness journey. Maybe it looks like, as if you're starting a meditation camp or something, right? And this choice B, which is sync your family's wellness, simplify every care journey, restore your peace of mind. So a lot of good outcomes it has actually given. Okay, so I think this part is pretty okay, and you can, do that. Thank you. Now imagine you're walking through a supermarket. You don't have time to read every product label. You somehow certain products, right, immediately, like you must have seen, they would have caught your attention, and then you may wonder why. It's because of color. Before you read a single word, before you understand the product, your brain has already formed an impression, and that's why color is one of the most powerful branding decisions you'll make. Okay, and it is not about decoration. Many people choose colors because they're their favorite. I like red. My favorite color is blue. That's perfectly fine for choosing a t-shirt, but for branding, it's different. Your favorite color may not be the right color for your customer. Instead of asking which color do I choose, ask what feeling should my startup create? That's a much better branding question. Let us understand color psychology. Okay, designers often talk about it. It simply means that colors can influence how people feel and what they expect from a brand. Now, this is not an exact science because different cultures and individuals may interpret colors differently. But over many years, marketers and designers have observed some common patterns. For example, if you look at navy blue, blue is often associated with trust, stability, and professionalism. And that is why you will notice many banks, technology companies, and consulting firms use different shades of blue. Now, if your startup is asking customers to trust you with money, education, or important information, blue is often a safe choice. Let's talk about emerald green. Green reminds many people of growth, health, nature, and sustainability. So, if your startup focuses on agriculture, healthcare, wellness, eco-friendly things, um, environmental solutions, green naturally supports that message. It's a color that often feels fresh and positive. Let's talk about vibrant orange. It gives, it evokes, in fact, energy. Okay. It creates a sense of movement, excitement, action. And that's why many food delivery, travel, and marketplace companies use orange. It encourages people to take action. If your startup wants to feel youthful and dynamic, orange can be a strong choice. Let's talk about deep purple. Purple has traditionally been associated with creativity, innovation, and premium experiences. So, a lot of fintech, beauty, and lifestyle brands use purple because it feels modern and distinctive. So, if your startup wants to position itself as bold, premium, purple is actually worth considering. Then comes the yellow, okay? Because that communicates optimism, creativity, and youthful energy. It's bright, it's cheerful, and it naturally attracts attention. So many brands targeting young audiences use, yellow because it creates a feeling of positivity. Then comes teal or cyan, okay? Because teal combines, uh, some of the trust associated with blue with the freshness of green. And many modern software companies use real teal because it feels clean, calm, and technology focused. Okay, so for example, if you're building a productivity app or a B2B software platform, teal can work beautifully. Also, you should not choose too many colors because let's say if you're using 5 colors, sometimes even 10, the result is the brand starts looking confusing instead of memorable. Professional brands usually follow a simple rule: one primary color, one accent color, okay? And that's exactly what this slide recommends. Okay, so your primary color becomes the identity of your brand. Your accent color highlights buttons, icons, or important information. Keeping your palette simple makes your brand look much more professional. You should think about consistency, in fact. Okay. Imagine if YouTube changed its red logo to green every week, or WhatsApp became blue one day and orange the next day. It would feel, strange. Customers build familiarity through repetition. And that's why successful brands use the same colors everywhere: their website, apps, social media presentations, packaging, because consistency actually builds recognition, and recognition builds trust. Okay. Now, if you're unsure which colors suit your startup, you should not guess because AI is already there to help you. You can ask Gemini for suggestions, tell it what your startup does, who your customers are, and what feeling uh, you want your brand to create. Because it can recommend a primary color, an accent color, and even explain why those colors fit your business. But you should remember, I can recommend colors. Only you can decide whether they truly represent your startup. Okay, so your challenge is, before moving to the next activity, make one simple decision. Choose just 2 colors, one that represents your startup's personality, and the other one that complements it. Because those 2 colors will become part of your startup's identity, not just for today, but throughout the rest of this course as you build your MVP, right? Create your pitch deck and present your venture. Because sometimes people remember a color long before they remember a company name. Now, so far you've created your startup's identity piece by piece. You have a name, a logo, tagline, color palette. Now it's time to bring together, all these things into one simple document called a brand card. You may be wondering what a brand card is. Think of a brand card as your startup's identity card. So when someone asks, can you tell me about your startup? This is one of the first things you can share. Professional companies often create what's called a brand style guide or brand guidelines. Now, these documents can run into dozens of pages specifying everything from logo, usage to typography and color rules. Your brand card is a simplified version of that idea. It has one slide, but it captures the essence of your startup's visual identity. Now, you may ask, why does it matter? Imagine you and your team mates are building the startup together. Now, one person designs the presentation, the other one creates Instagram posts. Now, someone else designs the website. Okay. If everyone chooses different colors, what will happen? Right. Your startup, starts looking inconsistent. In this case, a brand card will solve that problem. It ensures everyone presents the startup in the same way. So consistency is one of the biggest signs of professionalism. Okay, so we will build it step by step. All you need to do is open Canva, create a blank presentation, and let's add each element. Start with your startup name. And this is because the largest element, you will notice is what will be the first one. So you should place your logo, keep it clean, don't stretch it, don't distort it. A good logo should always maintain its original proportions. Then add your tagline. Think of it as a supporting sentence. Your name captures attention. Your tagline will explain the promise, and together they will tell a complete story. Then you should be able to add your color palette. Okay, should include two colors you have selected. Don't just show the colors, include their hex codes as well. Okay, so a hex code is simply a unique digital code that tells computers exactly which color to display. So for example, if you're saying use blue, instead of that, it's always better to use something like #0D1B4B, because that's the code of that specific color. This will ensure your website, presentation, logo, and social media all use the exact same shade. Professional designers rely on these codes every day because consistency matters. Then comes choosing your fonts carefully, okay? Because this slide asks you to mention your fonts. The slide also asks, to mention, in fact, to take a small decision. But typography is something where it is going to play a very huge impact on how people perceive your brand. You should imagine a law firm at this moment, okay, using a playful comic style font, or maybe a toy company using a very formal typeface. It wouldn't feel right, isn't it? It should be the other way around. So fonts communicate personality just like colors do. A simple rule is to choose one font for headings and the other for body text. Now avoid mixing 4 or 5 different fonts. Just as too many colors create confusion, too many fonts create visual clutter. Okay, so the slide also suggests claiming your social media handle. And that's exactly, in fact, a very smart habit, I will say. Even if you don't plan to launch your startup immediately, checking whether your preferred name is available on platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn can save you, problems later. Okay, then let us take a moment to look at what you have created. A few hours ago, your startup existed mainly as an idea. Now it has a name, a visual identity, personality, and a professional brand card that you can proudly share. In the next blocks, you will use the same brand card in your presentations, your MVP, and eventually your pitch. Okay, so don't rush this activity. You're not just designing a slide, you're creating the first visual identity of your company that could one day, become a real business. Yeah, for activity 3, what we'll do, we'll open Canva and we'll go to presentations. We'll just click on presentations and it's going to open a new presentation. Okay. Now what we'll do is we have to actually just add our logo, right? Set the background to the primary color. So let's choose white itself. That's okay. We'll go back to our logo. This is the logo that we had designed. Let me first crop it. So I'm using Mac. So the command is the keys that you have to use is Command plus Shift plus 4. If you do, yes, this is what it will come. And then go back here, go back to this. And yes, you can actually or what you do, the best way is let's do it again. So it's Command Shift 4. And let's do it quickly. We'll go to the presentation and we'll immediately drag it here. And once you drag, you can get. In fact, if you want 2 different colors, just copy it and then paste it. Okay, I have right clicked and let me just allow it and I can juxtapose and keep these 2 side by side. Okay, and suppose if I need to do some changes, what I'll do is, yeah, so I can just click on one particular, logo, and I can just click Ask Canva if you see, and here I say change the color to, let's say, yellow. Okay, and I'll just click this. Let's see what it actually does. So while it's actually doing, you can then use, yeah, it has actually done. So let me just click this, or I can just use the other one. Okay, fine. So we have used already, right? Okay, it has increased the this section, the middle one, which also looks good. So you can choose either, or you can reduce the size. That's okay. And at the bottom, then you can define the hex code, whatever color you have used. So for example, if I click this yellow, uh, let me just see the hex code for this. Yes, so the hex code for this color is, let me just paste it here. Yeah, so you can just paste it here at the bottom. If you want to describe, uh, put the tagline, you can do it at the bottom. So let's see what's the next one. Yes, add your logo and then left or center, whatever, and type your startup name, chosen the large font. Okay, so ours was Medisync, I guess, right? Yeah, it was Medisync. So let's come here and what we can do is we can just copy this. We can paste it here. Okay. Yes, it's a little bigger size. Correct. And then you can actually delete it and you can write Medi Sync. Okay. And let's select it and maybe you can reduce it a little. It depends on how you want to actually present. The style is all yours. You can make it bold. Instead of, we can use, yeah, this looks good, or you can use DM Sans, or you can use Cooper, right? Do not use these fonts because they're not very clear. They don't look professional too. Or you can use this one. Hope this is clear. So you can paste the hex code. You can do, in fact, you can paste the tagline also. So let's choose a tagline here. We had created a lot of taglines. I think yeah. So we can use restore your piece of sync your family's wellness. Let's choose this. I've copied it, and then bottom. Yes, you can bring it down. Okay. And then maybe you can select it. So you can now see how beautiful it actually looks. And if you want to present, you can actually present it, right? And you can share it with anybody. Take a screenshot, whatever. That's it. All the best. Yes. Okay. So the last few activities, in fact, you have used AI to generate names, logos, taglines, and even color suggestions. By now, you've probably noticed something interesting. Sometimes AI gives you an amazing result, sometimes it gives you something completely unusual. Does that mean AI is unreliable? Not really, because it usually means the prompt needs improvement. And that's why this slide is not about another branding activity. It's about learning a skill that you will use in every future block of the course. Okay, so let's learn to write better prompts. Okay, so first of all, think of AI like a team member. Imagine you've hired a designer. You walk up and say, make me a logo. What happens? The designer immediately has questions. Okay, what does your startup do? What's your customer? Who is your customer? Should it like look playful or premium? Which colors do you? So a lot of questions could ask. The more information you provide, the better the result is, because AI works in a similar way. A vague prompt produces vague result. You look at the pattern. Look carefully at the prompts on this slide. Whether you are asking AI to create a startup name, like design a logo, suggest, or write, let's say, a tagline. Every prompt follows a similar pattern. First, it explains the startup, then it describes the customer, and then it specifies the style or objective. And finally, it lets AI exactly what kind of output is expected. That's actually a useful habit. Then you should not accept the first answer. One of the biggest misconceptions about AI is that first response, final response. But that's not. Professional founders rarely work that way. They ask follow up questions, they refine, compare, in fact, alternatives. Suppose AI gives you 10 startup names. Okay, we already saw that. And you don't have to pick one immediately. Instead, you might ask, can you make these names sound more premium? Or like generate names that are easier to pronounce in India, something like that. Suggest names that feel more playful for teenagers. So each refinement brings the result closer to your vision. So prompting is an iterative process. It's not a one-time activity. Okay. Now you should save your best prompts. So whenever you discover a prompt that consistently gives good results, you should not lose it, you should save it. You should create your prompt library. Professional designers, marketers, product managers often make collections of prompts they reuse and improve over time. Because instead of starting from scratch every day, they build on what already works. Okay. Now, AI can generate, but you should be able to evaluate. You must evaluate. Because AI is excellent at generating possibilities, but it doesn't know your vision. It doesn't understand your long term strategy. It cannot decide which option best represents your startup. And that's your responsibility as a founder. Think of AI as a creative assistant so that It can brainstorm, suggest, inspire, but the final decision always belongs to you. Okay. So this particular prompt library is not just for branding. You will use, as I said, the same approach when creating MVP, writing marketing content, or preparing your pitch deck. The better your prompts become, the better your AI assisted work becomes. And that's a skill that extends far beyond this particular program. Okay. So, because in today's world, founders don't succeed by asking AI to do everything, they ask by asking a better question. Okay. Now let us understand some common branding mistakes. What not to do. Now, before we finish this block, let's spend a few minutes learning from mistakes. One of the fastest ways to improve as a founder is to understand what to avoid. The good news is that most branding mistakes are completely preventable. You don't need years of experience. The first mistake is trying to say everything. See, many first time founders believe their brand name, logo, tagline should explain every feature, and the result is names become too long, logos become crowded, taglines become entire, sentences. Your brand's job is to explain everything. Its job is to make people curious enough to learn more. Think about Google. The name doesn't tell you it's a search engine. Amazon doesn't say it sells millions of products, or maybe when it started, it used to sell books, even now. So the business builds meaning over time. Then comes copying other brands. This is the mistake. I want my logo look like, apples. Can we make it look like Nike? No. There's nothing wrong when you admire successful brand, but copying them won't help you build your own identity. The strongest startups are recognized because they're different, not because they resemble someone else. Okay, the third one is chasing trends. So design trends change quickly. A logo style that's popular today may look outdated in a couple of years. So you should ask, right, what's trending? Do you feel that this question is right? I think the better way to form this is, will this still represent my startup a few years from now? That's a better way to ask instead of simply asking, what's trending. Timeless designs usually, age much better than fashionable ones. And that is one reason why many successful brands update their logos gradually rather than redesigning them every year. Then mistake number 4 is ignoring feedback. Founders often become emotionally attached to their first idea, and that's very natural. But customers won't see such brand through your eyes. That's why feedback matters. Show your name and your logo to a few classmates, teachers, family members. Ask a couple of questions. For instance, let's say, what does this startup seem to do? How will you pronounce the name? What's the first word that comes to your mind when you see this logo? If several people give similar feedback, don't ignore it. Use it. Improve your brand. Feedback is not criticism. It's a free market research. Mistake number 5 is inconsistency. Imagine your presentation uses only one logo, your website uses some other, your Instagram page, some different color, your visiting card uses different font. People may wonder whether all of these belong to the same company. Consistency creates familiarity, and familiarity will build trust. And that's exactly why you created a brand card in the previous identity. It helps every future design look like it belongs to the same startup. And there's one final thought: perfection is not the goal. In fact, the goal is progress. So your brand will evolve. Many famous companies have actually refreshed their logos, updated their colors, and all that. Okay, wonderful. So you should build a brand that's authentic, consistent, and unmistakably yours. Let's move to the last one. Okay, just take a moment to look at what you have created today. And at the beginning of this session, your startup was mainly just an idea and with a business model, and now it has all. It has a name, logo, tagline, color palette, professional brand card. Right. So it's easy to think today we just made a logo, but that's not what happened. Today you gave your startup an identity. From this point onward, every presentation you create, every prototype you build, every social media post you design, and every pitch you in fact deliver will carry the same visual identity. Okay. So you should celebrate your progress. Congratulations to you, everybody, and to you. Many people spend months talking about startup ideas without creating anything tangible, and you have done something really different. Coming up next is all about MVP, minimum viable product, which is a simplest version of your solution that real users can experience and test. And that's the moment when your idea starts becoming a product. Till then, thank you so much for learning, and